Okay, is it really that simple? Should your structure just be midweek interval and weekend long run? I keep getting literally requests for more difficulty, more layers, more additional work in order for you to move forward. And I totally get it because I was in the same situation as you. When I started, I wanted to do everything I possibly could to get faster. I got a question in the comments, I'm gonna answer it, and by the end of this video, you're going to get an idea of why the structure is the way it is and the best possible structure for you right now in your running journey, what it looks like over the week, and then the progressions from there. Now, Jan Olsen asked me in the comments, brilliant question this. I'm following a traditional running structure with a speed session on Tuesday, tempo session Friday, and a long run Sunday, plus 1 or 2 easy runs. What are the pros and cons of your structure with one workout Wednesday and long run Sunday compared to the more traditional structure? It's really funny how we think of that as the traditional structure, and it's because it's what we've always done. And if I remember my time at East Cheshire Harriers, Tuesday, fartlek or tempo session or speed intervals, Thursday, exactly the same, Saturday racing, Sunday racing or long run. It was like that, 3-4 sessions a week, big sessions, lot out of the body. It was like that when I was a kid. And as a kid, you think you're doing exactly what adults tell you. So you think there's no other way in order to move forward. But there were smarter parents there from bigger clubs. I remember it so well. And there was a big difference in kids that were doing really, really well and had subsequently done really well in the sport, famous names that you will know, and what we always knew. And there's not a bad mark on my coach. My coach, we were just doing what we knew. We had pasta the night before races. It was kind of old school, but it worked. And this is the point. Whatever you do, if you're new to running or if you're new to structure, if you've been running less than 2-3 years, whatever you do, pretty much without hurting yourself, it's gonna move you forward. And therefore, you're gonna think it's working, but there's an optimal way to move forward. And if you're doing Tuesday, Friday, Sunday sessions, there's gonna be too much breakdown there. There is just too much breakdown. I don't care what pro runners tell you, what elite runners tell you, please listen to this when I tell you that it's consistency, it's the discipline, and it's constantly moving forward that is going to make you break through levels and reach towards your potential. And when I say potential, you've got a full-time job, you're working 40, 50 hours a week, you're doing training on top of that. When I say potential, I'm like, as a full-time worker, this is potentially where you can get. If you do everything right and you're patient, you hit that consistency, you understand about discipline, you're able to implement and get somewhere where you deserve to be rewarded after months and years of hard work. That's what I'm talking about. I know that doesn't sound sexy because you want to run a fast time tomorrow. I know that. When you're running, and with these questions, you've got to understand that there's only so much information that Jan can give me. So he can only tell me, okay, speed session Tuesday. I need to look under the bonnet. What do you mean by speed session? What does a speed session mean to you? How many reps are you doing? What's the rep length? What's the total volume? What's the warm up and cool down? How much total volume are you doing? Easy runs, 2 easy runs. What do you mean? Do you mean 1 or 2 or sometimes 1, sometimes 2? How long are you doing? What do they look like? For the tempo session, what do you mean by tempo? What does tempo mean to you? The crazy thing about tempo is it basically means time or pace. And so if you ask 20 different coaches to tell you what a tempo session is, or give you the definition of a tempo session, they'll give you 20 different answers. You've got to keep this stuff simple. And with the long run, I've got to ask Jan, okay, what do you mean by long run? Is this long, slow distance? Are you just going out there? What is that pace compared to what your race pace is? What are you training for? What does your life look like? Are you going to work for 50, 60 hours? Do you work on an oil rig? Is all your running done on a treadmill? It's very specific and individualistic to ourselves. And therefore, when you ask for coaching plans or the progressions of intervals, it's very difficult for me to give because I need to look at the whole picture. And this is not me trying to make money from you and ask, over the weeks, try to get you to get coaching plans from me. It's not that. It's just that we're individuals and what works for one person doesn't work for another. But what I'm going to give you is literally the blueprint of what works. And the reason, I'm going to back that up with the reasons why it works and the reasons why you don't need to do much else. But if we're talking about 5 days running, you want 3 easy and recovery days. And by recovery, I've talked about this a lot before, you can see the videos, recovery means just get over the last session. By easy, we mean get our body ready from the recovery to run either fast or far again. And then the midweek interval session, just focused on intervals, it's speed and it's threshold. These terms are often thrown around: tempo, threshold, speed work, fartlek. It's all pretty much the same stuff. We're working, and if you go into the lab and see what your zones are, what your heart rate is, and how that correlates to what your blood is doing, don't want to get too technical until I will make a video that's super technical and it'll go through what a lactate threshold test looks like and how it could benefit you if you feel like you're plateauing. Right now, it's about that easy stuff being easy enough for you to have a conversation, or even easier than that. It feels like, am I even doing anything here? That's how easy a recovery run should be. And then it's about the interval sessions. And when I talk about 20 times 1 minute, or 12 times 400 meters, or 3 times 10 minutes, we're talking about different lengths of intervals. So you're going to be working with different paces. Some of them are going to be more relevant to you if you're training for a 5K. Some are going to be more relevant to you as a marathon runner if you're training to run a marathon quickly. But they all feed into the zones without going into looking at the blood. They all feed into getting us more comfortable at working essentially in zone 3 and zone 4, which improves our running economy for speed. It improves our efficiency at moving over the ground. It improves our biomechanics at moving over the ground. So as we go for those shorter intervals, 1 and 2 minutes, or distances like 200 meters, 400 meters, our body gets used to going faster. Exactly the same with hill repeats. Our body gets used to pushing ourselves, using the big power muscles, the glutes, to move over the ground. Then when we feed in the long run and we work initially with long, slow distance, if we're new to that, and then we make it specific. So part of that is tempo, if you want to call it that, or part of it is progressive long run where it gets progressively faster. And therefore the second third, and the third, they're progressively more faster, and therefore we're working into a threshold or a tempo, whatever you want to call it. But for the sake of consistency on this channel, I'll call it a specific long run. We'll call it either a progressive long run, or we'll call it with segments of intervals in the middle, which are essentially you running, say for instance, 5K, comfortable pace, but somewhere relative to the speed that you want to be running in if you're doing 25K long run, maybe it's towards a marathon. Middle 15K or the middle 10K is at marathon pace slower by 10%, and that all feeds nicely into your marathon pace, or we split that up into 10 times a kilometer at half marathon pace or at 10K pace. Again, it's all working your thresholds. And then 5K easier at the end, which again is something related to marathon pace, but it's maybe marathon pace plus 20 or 30%. This is all threshold. So with those 2 sessions, and we're talking from Sunday to Wednesday, you've got 48 hours. Have I calculated that right? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, so you've got 72 hours. And then from the Wednesday to the long run, you've got 96 hours. So you've got 3 and 4 days in between. And that's you going to work, doing a full-time job, going to university, whatever you're doing at the moment, trying to recover, then also doing your easy runs, accelerating your recovery so you get the very best out of those 2 key sessions. If you're hitting those, fantastic, you're gonna move forward. And if you're moving forward, then you're in this positive flywheel and you're doing well and you can get towards your potential over weeks. And you start to say, okay, I need to do a little bit more work in the gym. Where does that fit in if you've got 3 sessions? Tuesday, Friday, Sunday, where do you do a gym session? Because that's more muscle breakdown. The 3 sessions, Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday, it's too much because each one of those is too close together and it's breaking muscle down each time, different levels. Speed session is gonna break a bit more muscle down, depending on what you're doing. If you're doing something like 5 times 5 minutes quick, then it's gonna break muscle down. The long run, out there a long time, and if that's a specific long run or long, slow distance, your muscles are breaking down. And it's when, aim with a tempo on Friday, but it's when we're actually, if we look at this like a gym person and somebody who's trying to improve the chest, you're not gonna go in there more frequently than every 72 hours and work out chest, because we understand now, because we can see a bodybuilder, how much he's trained. And so because we can see it, we can know we can ask him what he's been doing. And he'll tell you that to work out chest and tricep once a week or twice a week maximum, back and biceps, legs and shoulders, simple as that. We all know that, but you need to rotate the muscles because the way the muscle builds is we stress it, it breaks down, it micro tears, and as it grows back stronger and bigger, and therefore next time it can handle a little bit more weight. Very easy in the gym. And we'll very easily be able to tell whether we can handle this stress or not because we won't be able to lift it for the amount of reps that we're trying to do. But we don't equate this in the running world, which is, it's kind of crazy in a way, but I felt and thought exactly the same. When I started running, I just wanted to do everything I possibly could to get faster. All I knew about myself is my work ethic is the reason I got on the football team, the reason I got on the cricket team. I'm not talented in any way, shape or form. I just have a stronger work ethic than most people. So I wanted to insert that into running and become the very best runner I could. And hopefully, because it's such a close metaphor to life, I hoped that work ethic, that input would make me a Great Britain runner. And eventually it did, but I had to learn the hard way that just input doesn't equal output, and it's got to be consistency. You've got to be patient. You've got to be consistency over time. You've got to not get injured. You've got to not get ill, and you've got to consistently get the benefit from that long run, build the endurance and stamina, and that interval session, build the thresholds, build the pace, build the speed. Hill reps, is an interval session. And as you tick those off, Wednesday, Sunday, you don't have any more breakdown, that's when you start to see the results compound over time. And that's when you go from running, let's say 30 minutes for 5K or trying to break 30 minutes to all of a sudden, I can run 19 minutes for 5K. How the hell did that happen? It happened because you got the basics right. Your sleep is boxed off, reduced stress, diet's boxed off. You know what nutrition looks like. You know what to eat before the race. You're boxing your speed off on a regular basis for 2, 3, 4 months. You're also building endurance. I can run faster and further. That's it. I love these questions because you really are a knowledgeable crowd, and this is probably one of the greatest things I've ever done, set up this channel and be in touch with so many people. I love it. So keep your questions coming, and if you like this, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.